Be quick. So for those of you who haven't heard of it, there is a new program that is available through the IRS. You heard that right. I did say IRS, and it is called the Direct Pay Program. It's a function of the Inflation Reduction Act. And what this program does is it allows non-taxable entities like school districts, churches, municipalities, and all other nonprofits to receive tax credits for clean energy projects like commercial entities have been able to do. Some of the projects that you can do this with are like electric vehicles, in some cases, EV charging stations, renewables like solar, geothermal, like we were just talking about, and wind. And this is not a coupon. This is a very large incentive. For the renewable energy projects like solar, geothermal, and wind, for the typical project, the base incentive is 30%, and it goes up to 60 or 70%, depending on which adders the municipality or school district or nonprofit is eligible for. I just want to point out that this is something that's funded for 10 years, which means that it's not just projects that you've already completed, but it's also projects that you're planning into the future. And the other thing to know is it's not competitive. If you do a project that is meets all the eligibility standards, it's not like you submit it and then find out whether or not you won, that incentive. If the project meets all of the eligibility standards, you get the tax credit. And then another thing that I really want to ring bells all over about is that if you completed an eligible project in 2023, or if you're on a fiscal calendar for like schools in, fiscal year 24, if you did it in calendar year 23, you are eligible for the tax credits until November 15th is the filing deadline. And if you're on a fiscal year calendar, you are eligible for fiscal year 24 projects until May 15th. The thing to know is you have to pre-register with the IRS, and it takes a little while to do that. So you want to get on the stick right away. Earlier today at lunchtime, we did a short lunchtime webinar. The runtime of it is about 45 minutes. And I'm going to put the link to that webinar in this presentation, or in the chat, I should say. And there will be more information there that will really be helpful to municipalities, school districts, and nonprofits that are interested in taking advantage of this program. And with that, I'm going to hand the microphone over to Tanya.
Thanks, Tracy. So I just have a quick announcement. I don't have visuals for this, but just wanted to let everyone know that Sustainable Jersey just announced a round of technical assistance for municipalities to complete a climate change related hazard vulnerability assessment, or it can be called a CCRHVA. So a little bit of background, back in February of 2021, a state law was enacted that made this CCRHVA a requirement for any municipal master plan, land use plan element. So that's one reason for towns to do this CCRHVA, is to be compliant with state law. But it's really also like a first step toward figuring out what actions need to be taken to address the impacts of climate change in a municipality, because it really does require the town to identify a set of strategies for reducing vulnerabilities that are found through this assessment. So, from there, once you have your assessment, you've got strategies, you can then plan for specific actions and seek funding to implement them. So it's a really, helpful thing to do aside from just following the law to really understand your climate risks. So some of the things that might be covered in this work would include, how to deal with heat waves and extreme temperatures, reducing flooding and flood damage, and then ultimately really getting into how to operationalize long-term resilience strategies at the municipal level. So this is really kind of important work to become more resilient to climate change. So we do have some resources and opportunities for municipalities to become more climate ready, which to me is really, synonymous with being sustainable as well. So, a lot of our actions pertain to this, but we have some specific things that we've just released around this. So first is something that actually came out about a year ago is the Guide for Local Climate Change Adaptation Planning. So Sustainable Jersey partnered with New Jersey Future. We worked very closely, collaborated with the DEP to create this resource, along with a lot of input from stakeholders across the state. So it really provides sort of a standard and comprehensive methodology that's going to help municipalities to not only be compliant with all those provisions that are in this law requiring this vulnerability assessment, but really for also doing it in a holistic way and towards sustainability. So I'll put a link to our webpage around all this work and all the things I'll talk about are on that website. So I'll put that in the chat. So aside from this guide that really provides a lot of guidance on how to do a vulnerability assessment, Sustainable Jersey also just released a new action in the Sustainable Jersey certification program. So it follows the methodology of the guide and encourages towns to do like a really good job on their vulnerability assessments, to really get something meaningful out of the activity, and just provides a blueprint, step-by-step process, all the kind of tools and things that are needed to get through that, because it isn't, it isn't quick and easy. It's kind of daunting. So we will have a webinar in December to describe, doing this comprehensive climate change related hazard vulnerability assessment action. And then lastly is the technical assistance opportunity that we just announced. The DEP is funding Sustainable Jersey to provide grants for between 8 to 15 municipalities to create or update their climate change related hazard vulnerability assessments. So I could give you a little bit of background about the TA grant. No money is awarded for this grant, so this is strictly a technical assistance grant. Towns can apply for it on our website. The application is really very brief and minimal. It's a Google form, just asks a few questions. But towns will need to have a municipal official or staff member to be listed on the application, and also need to get a resolution adopted by the governing body to support participation in the project. The application period has just opened, and it'll be open through December 20th. During the process, we may reach out to applicants, ask questions about their application. We're going to also be doing some outreach, so look for more information to come on that. But then February 1st, 2025 is when we'll notify the grant recipients by that date. We'll have an interview meeting prior to that to confirm participation and everything, but awards will be granted around February 1st. And then the project to conduct a climate change related hazard vulnerability assessment would happen over a period of approximately 12 months, sometime between February 2025 and May 2026. All final versions need to be completed by August 2026. So if your town is looking to do this vulnerability assessment, this is a really great opportunity to really get it funded. It'll be free. It's really good for towns that are just about ready to update their master plan, because that's what triggers this to be required by law. And the only other thing that in terms of the application is that participating municipalities would need to agree to provide their own planner to review the final vulnerability assessment for adoption into the master plan, because that's the purpose of doing this. The project takes you up to that point of having a completed climate change related hazard vulnerability assessment that is compliant with the provisions of the law, but it's ready to be adopted by the planning board into the master plan, but the project doesn't include us working on that and doing that. So we do require that the municipality provide a planner to kind of take that step. So I will, happy to answer questions, but also if it's not in there already, I'll put the link to our website with more information and the links to the things I've talked about there.